welcome everyone to today's webinar, From Learning to Doing, where we will look at how modern teams build habits through training, rather than just acquiring knowledge, and how we actually need to structure training as well in order to facilitate that, in order to achieve that and support that. And we'll dive almost right into this topic. I will just quickly give a brief introduction for anyone who's not familiar with Blue Elephant Solutions. Just a very quick intro, who we are and what we do. So we are a Singapore-based company, and we specialize in making learning more effective and efficient. So what we do is we build comprehensive platforms, learning management systems, but also standalone tools that can be used as such or integrated in existing systems as well, all with the goal in mind of how can we take learning to the next level, but both for the learner and also for the trainer or the facilitator. So we always look at both sides in order to make learning more effective and efficient. And we use a lot of AI technology in different aspects, different facets for different parts of our solutions to make sure they really add value. We also use methods and features like gamification, micro-learning, mobile learning as well, and combine them in different aspects to achieve the most practical tools and platforms. And I'm not going to go through all the awards now, but just on the right side, just a few of our clients. So the Singapore Institute of Technology is a big university here in Singapore. That's a university we're working quite closely with over a couple of years already. We also work with other unis here, the Management University, the Technology and Design University. We work with the EMEA sales team of Siemens Healthineers, of their diagnostics division. And the last two names that you see here, DUU and KMD, are actually hospitals in Germany that actually use the solution that we'll have a quick look into as well later on. So that fits quite well. But yeah, enough about us. We'll dive into the topic today. How do modern teams actually build habits and not just knowledge? And I want to start with this. I'm sure most people are familiar with the statistic, probably all, but it sounds very dramatic, but it's actually also pretty accurate. So based on Ebbinghaus' scientifically proven forgetting curve model, which says without reinforcement, most of what we teach gets forgotten. So the research shows that we lose up to 75% of newly learned material, newly learned information within just 1 week. And you can make that 90% even when we look at 1 month. So that's been a consistent statistic over decades of cognitive science. And I'm sure if a lot of companies, when we think about the last training that has been done and has been delivered to teams, and then we think about how much of the knowledge we have provided actually is being used today, actively applied today, just a few weeks later, maybe after the training also. The reality is for most organizations, the answer is probably not that much. So yeah, forgetting is a major issue, is one major issue. And we'll talk about how to address that in one moment as well. But what's often missed is actually a second issue as well. So even when people do remember something, they often don't apply it. So even when people remember the policy or the framework, they still might not act on it. They may know the rule, they may recall the process, but they still don't follow it necessarily just because they know it. Knowing is not the same thing as doing. So the real challenge is actually twofold, which the first thing is keeping knowledge accessible over time. And the second point is making it usable in real situations. And if both of these points are addressed, that's when training actually starts to yield actual results. So let's have a look in how we can address that. Let's start with the first part, which the first part would be keeping knowledge available to the learner. And I don't mean knowing where it is on a paper, somewhere in a file where I can look it up when I need it, but actually making it available in their mind. And for that, we need to look at why we forget so quickly. And the answer is our brain is actually pretty brilliant. It's actually very efficient. So it prioritizes, right? What it thinks we'll need again soon and discards all the rest. So if I tell you something once and never mention it again, your brain just assumes, that's not important. Let's clear some space, right? So if we want knowledge to remain present, we need to interrupt the forgetting process. So what we see here is the forgetting curve. We build up knowledge. We forget if we don't reinforce. And to interrupt this process, we can use a methodology called spaced learning or spaced repetition. And spaced learning is actually the opposite of cramming, right? Instead of delivering everything in longer sessions in one sitting or in 2 or 3 ones and leaving it at that, we bring key ideas back at just the right moment, which is right before someone is likely to forget. Because the research is clear on that moment of effortful recall, when your brain reaches for that answer, that's what strengthens the memory the most. So it's almost like building a muscle, right? You don't lift a heavy weight once and expect to get stronger. I mean, you can expect that if you want to, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. So you come back to it over time in short bursts, you keep doing it, and that's what builds up your strength. And the same goes for knowledge. So when we give small, repeated opportunities to revisit important concepts, especially in ways that feel low effort for the learner, but are still relevant to what they need to know, that's when we're not just reminding them, that's when we're reinforcing the memory. So now, ideally, we implement the spaced learning methodology successfully in our organization, and we solve the memory problem with that. So our learners now remember what they were taught, what they need to know. Great first step. The next question is, can they now actually use it? And here's where we come back to the second obstacle from earlier. Remembering something is not the same as doing something. So knowing the customer escalation protocol is in section 2.4 is great, or even actually what it says, probably that would be great. But what matters is, do they follow it when a frustrated client is on the phone or right in front of them? Knowing the compliance policy doesn't mean that someone will act in line with it in stressful situations. And why is that? Because, and that's a very important part actually, application needs 3 things. It requires context, it requires judgment, and it requires confidence. And especially the last part, the confidence part, is something that's often built only through repetition. So that means if people never practice using their knowledge, especially in situations that do feel realistic, we shouldn't be surprised when they freeze, when they fall back on instinct, or when they avoid taking action at all. So many of us probably have heard this phrase, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn, right? It's a quote that's supposedly from Benjamin Franklin, but whether he actually said that or not, the quote itself holds up, especially when it comes to building performance on the job. People learn by doing, by making decisions, seeing the consequences, and adjusting over time. But of course, the problem is real life isn't always a great place to experiment. So the stakes are quite high, the pressure is real, the margin for error is way smaller than in a training context. That's why people tend to fall back on what they have been doing, even when it's not in line with what they learned, because what we know, what's familiar, gives us comfort. It doesn't add to stress. It doesn't add to pressure. But that's why scenario-based practice is such a powerful approach. When people are given the chance to simulate a real decision and choose what they would say or what they would do or prioritize in a certain moment, in a certain scenario, that's when they're not just recalling facts. They're preparing for action. They're preparing for applying their knowledge. And here's actually what's really interesting. The brain doesn't make a distinction between a real experience and a simulated one. So that means a well-constructed practice, even in a virtual or digital format, can build real confidence and prepare people for real situations. So if we want people to act differently, we need to give them a safe space to try, right? To fail and to try again. Okay, how habits form. So we've talked about memory, we've talked about application. So now let's take it one last step further. What makes a behavior stick? And that's where habit formation comes in. So habits form when three elements come together. First one is a cue that triggers a certain behavior. Second one is a routine. It's the action that we take. And the third one is a reward. So something that gives us a reason to keep going. Over time, this chain becomes automatic. So we start doing things without thinking, like brushing our teeth in the morning, locking the door, checking our inbox first thing we open our laptops. And in learning, we can support habit formation by making the practice itself feel familiar, make it feel rewarding and routine. So short, well-timed learning moments, repeated regularly, and combined with small positive feedback, like progress indicators, gamification elements like rankings, rewards, or even measurable growth. That's the kind of pattern that creates lasting change. So to summarize, before we go to a quick live demo, if we're serious about changing performance through learning, here's what needs to happen, right? Workplace learning or learning in general actually often focuses on content, delivering it, tracking it, even testing it. But the real challenge is making that information stick, and even more than that, making it useful when it matters. That means we need to design learning experiences that do these three things. So they help people remember what's important. They give them space to apply it in realistic situations. And they reinforce the behavior until it becomes a habit. So when these come together, these three things, when learners revisit what they've learned, when they practice applying it in realistic situations, and experience small wins along the way that reinforce behavior and build habits, we're no longer just transferring knowledge, but we're actually helping people turn learning into actions. And we do that not just once, but consistently over time. And we actually at Relevant Solutions have built a tool that combines these three factors. So it combines the remembering aspect of it. It gives people the opportunity to apply what they've learned in scenario-based practice situations, and reinforces it with rewards as well, with small wins. And this is the point where we will quickly go to a short demo session. So I'll quickly exit my presentation here. And I will, for building the suspense, take a quick sip of water. 1 second. Apologies for that. So quick demo of a solution that we've built to address these things. And it's called Knowledge Gym. So you can see, again, the comparison to going to the gym to train up. And it looks like this. Okay. So this is Knowledge Gym, which comes with a mobile front end, as I said. So to really facilitate learning in short bursts, if it's on a train, whether it's in the pantry in the office over a coffee break, something like that, you just do a couple of minutes at a time. But it comes with a web-based backend as well for the facilitators, for the trainers. And you can see it comes in a modular structure. So every learning module focuses on a specific topic that you can put in yourself in the backend. So you put in your own content, and the backend and a generator that we've built in there actually helps you to convert your content into scenario-based practice questions. So if we look into one of these modules. So for example, car dealership. So this is for salespeople in a car dealership. You see the module here, and you see scenario-based questions that will confront the learner with situations that they will likely face in their normal job as well. And what you can do here on a module level, you can put a media file in or a document, for example. So what you could do is you could put in a slide deck where the learners can quickly look through what should they do, what should they apply in certain situations, and then they can go through the scenario-based questions below here. So for example, if we look at this one, you can see there's a scenario described here. You can again support that with a video file where you show the scenario, for example, kind of a quick look at a video. You can put another document in there, an explainer video, something like that. And then based on the scenario, the learners will decide what to do in the situation. So in this one, something that probably comes up quite often in a job, someone comes in and says, hey, this is a cool car, but I've seen it somewhere else for a lower price. What do I do? What's in line with not just maybe my logic, but also what's in line with our company policies on these things? So I now decide how I apply my knowledge. What do I do? What's the right answer? And then I can see, right, in my case now, my selection was incorrect. I'm getting the thumbs down. For dramatic effect, of course, you can put something else in there as well as an image here. But what's really important is you get an explanation. You're getting an explanation of why your answer was incorrect and what would have been the correct one. And the delivery of these scenario-based practice questions happens in the spaced learning methodology that we discussed earlier. So this question and other scenario-based questions will be repeated over time, spaced out. And what's the cool thing about it is we've taken the forgetting curve model a bit further. So we're not using a uniform forgetting curve and a preset interval of days on when I get my repetitions. That's the same for everyone. But we actually built an AI-based algorithm that detects for every learner individually what's their forgetting curve like, when do they forget, and when do they need to repeat, and what scenario do they need to repeat as well. So I'm actually in the front end on my phone getting a pop-up notification, a push notification that tells me, hey, today I have 5 open questions to go through, 5 scenarios to go through. And it does that with the scenarios that are relevant for me individually and at the time that is relevant for me. So before I personally forget. So it's really a way that's hyper-personalized to really enhance the recall mechanism as well on a very individual level and fully automated. So it combines 2 things so far. It combines the recall, the reinforcement of knowledge, with scenario-based application of your knowledge. And what it also does is it has reward mechanisms. So there's rankings, there's achievements, there's also actual rewards. So if we look at this, for example, you can say at a certain threshold, at a certain milestone, I want my learners to receive a certain reward, like an Amazon voucher. That's completely up to you. You can structure this as you want. You can select the rewards that you want to put in there. You can also select to only keep a few of these rewards mechanisms, a few of these gamification elements, or none of them. But of course, you would encourage for the reward that helps building habits to keep them in. So yeah, it really personalizes the formation of habits. And the cool thing is, as I said, when you open the app based on your push notification, you're not in the module overview. So you don't have to think about, okay, what was the last thing that I need to repeat? What's the next thing I need to go through? Is it the car dealership module? Is it the warehouse operations module? When you open the app, you're actually automatically in the question section, and you automatically get the question delivered to you that's relevant for you on this specific repetition interval. So with this algorithm that constantly adjusts, it really enhances your recall practice, your application practice, and your habit building practice. Right. So yeah, quick demo of Knowledge Gym and what it does. and I will quickly reshare my deck now. Right, because while Knowledge Gym does all these things for you automatically, you can also try the concept itself more manually. So I'm sure most people are familiar with ChatGPT now or have access to it as well. So we prepared a small prompt that you can use. Actually, let me quickly copy this into the chat. You can just copy and paste it from there. Right. And this one helps you basically to upload a document and convert this into spaced learning intervals. Spaced learning intervals using actual scenario-based practice as well. So what it, of course, doesn't do is it doesn't automate the process. It doesn't adjust your intervals. They are preset. In this case, day 1, 3, 6, 10. Of course, you can change that. And it doesn't auto-remind you either. So you will have to go back into the chat to pick up where you left off. So you need to track manually when your repetition intervals come up. And also, unfortunately, ChatGPT doesn't reward you with anything. But yeah, it's an easy way to apply the foundation of this methodology for yourself if you want to try this out. And what's really cool as well, just as a bit of an exclusive preview, I would say, I mentioned we have a generator built in the backend of Knowledge Gym. So basically what this allows you to do is you can upload any documents that you have, right? So if you have like a training slide deck, if you have a specific document you want to train people on, you can upload it there, and it helps you convert this into this scenario-based Q&A format that we just saw. So it gives you a number of questions, it gives you right and wrong answer options to choose from, which you can still tweak. So if you're not satisfied with them, you can still adjust them as well. But it does this for you automatically. It's a very quick way to use what you already have and what you have or what you want people train on. Convert that into the Knowledge Gym format and into this habit building format. And in the next few days, we will actually be also releasing a tool that's free for everyone to use. That's basically a standalone version of this converter. So here you can see it's going to look like this. You can see you can upload your document here, put in learning objectives. You can even select the preferred output language. So you could upload an English document. I could say you want the questions or the scenarios to be formulated in Danish or Swedish or Bahasa. And select experience level, difficulty level, cognitive level. So should it just be about remembering? Should it more be about practical application? And then can, just generate the questions, and this tool will do that for you. So it's a really cool way to get a basis of scenario-based practice if you want to implement that as well into your learning, into your training routines as well in your organizations. And we will make this available for free completely. So have a look onto our LinkedIn profile, give us a follow there. We will obviously post it once it's out, should be happening very soon. Or have a look onto our website as well. We'll publish it there too, and you can access it there. Right. So we have a bit of time left. So before we get to questions, of course, I'm happy to take any questions and dive into them. Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for your interest. We hope it was informative for you, and hope to see you next time.